Hey, what's going on, everyone, and a big welcome to another video. So, in this video, I will be analyzing the game between Ian Nepomniachtchi and Ding Liren for the World Chess Championship held in Astana in Kazakhstan. And today, Ian Nepomniachtchi won. It was game 5, and now the score is 3-2 for Ian. The reason I am uploading the video a bit late today is because I was playing myself. I was playing in the Richardson Cup, or also known as the Scottish Cup, and I had a tough game and I was a bit tired. But even the days when you're tired, you should upload your videos. And I didn't want to leave it for tomorrow and procrastinate and all that. Anyway, I'll get to the point. And today it was e4, and this is a natural choice because Jan played d4 in the previous game where he was white, but his main move throughout the years is e4, and he wanted to stick to his main weapon, which is absolutely natural, and the best way to fight for an advantage is the Spanish. So Ding Liren played d5, knight f3. Here, okay, knight f6 is an alternative, the Petrov, but Ding Liren went for knight c6, bishop b5, and now a6, not the Berlin, which would have happened if it was knight f6. So a6, bishop a4, not the Spanish exchange, knight f6, and here castles, allowing the open Spanish, allowing the Arkhangelsk also with b5 and bishop c5, allowing the open Spanish with knight takes e4, but Ding Liren sticked with his main weapon, which is the Marshal, and that's why he goes bishop e7. And now, in the previous game, in the previous game where it was a Spanish, that was game 1. Ian Nepomniachtchi played bishop takes c6, dc6. And in this game, he chose another way to avoid the Marshal, and this time it was 6d3, a move that I have played myself. You can find the game on ChessBase. 6d3 was played, and here b5, one of the main moves, if not the main move. Bishop b3 is forced, the only safe square for the bishop, and now d6. Here, the move that I played in that game was a3, which is also a move that Nepomniachtchi and Karyakin and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave have played, especially Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. It's probably his main weapon. And yeah, a3 is a good alternative as well. However, Nepomniachtchi played c3, and this exact move order is the one that Niels Grandelius recommends in his Chessable course. Feel free to check it out if you feel it would help you. It's a great course, I must say. So, c3 was played, and now castles from black. And h3, okay, a useful move in these structures. It stops any bishop g4, and yeah, instead here, therefore, Ding Liren went bishop b7, develops the bishop there, and now a4, a typical move in the structures, undermining the pawn on b5. And knight a5, okay, hitting the bishop. Bishop c2 is an alternative, but Jan preferred the bishop on that diagonal, on the a2 to g8 diagonal, so he went to a2. And c5, a typical theme in the Spanish and the Italian, these king pawn openings, double king pawn openings from black, is how bad the knight on c6 is. Therefore, the knight needs to move. Sometimes it goes to b8 in the Breyer system, sometimes to a5 in the Chigorin system, or here as well, in order to free the pawn so that the black pawn can come to c5. And the reason, of course, the knight is bad on c6 is because exactly it blocks the pawn on c7. So knight a5 was played. Of course, I have mentioned this before. White cannot afford to lose the light square bishop to allow it to be exchanged for a black knight. So bishop a2 was played. And remember the chess principle that the knight on the rim is dim. So the knight on a5 will need to be relocated later on. But c5 first. That's the reason of this move. And now bishop g5. Okay, so far Nepomniachtchi has been playing very quickly. And yeah, bishop g5 is designed to give white a better control of the d5 square. And how will that be achieved? By removing the knight on f6, which controls the d5 square. So a hyper-modern strategy. And of course, many of you would have heard about the bishop pair. However, there is also this thing that in closed positions, sometimes the knights can be better than the bishops. So h6 was played by Ding, and Nepomniachtchi exchanged the bishop for the knight. And here, as you can see, the central pawns of black in the center, c5, d6, e5, they are all on dark squares. And because they are on dark squares, they restrict the bishop on f6. Therefore, white might be tiny, marginally better. And now ab5 was played, and knight bd2, the typical square for the knight in the Ruy Lopez, and also in the Italian sometimes. Knight c6 was played, and now bishop d5. So white has achieved his goal. They have gained control of the d5 square and put their bishop there, and an exchange of rooks followed, and now queen to d7. Okay. Rook e1, rook a8, hitting the queen and gaining control of the open file. Open files are definitely important. However, here, I mean, after queen d1, there is no way for black to penetrate. And bishop d8 was played. Okay, so bishop d8 aims to improve that bishop somehow. Knight f1, a typical Spanish maneuver, bringing the knight from b1 to d2 to f1, and from there the knight can either go to e3 or g3. Sometimes also it goes to h2 and from there to g4 in the Spanish. And now knight e7 was played, and an exchange of bishops followed. And now knight e3. Okay, so the knight on e3 is well placed because it controls both the f5 and d5 squares. And here bishop b6 followed, and now h4, which is an absolutely fantastic idea by white. What white wants to do, just so that you can understand it, white wants to play knight h4, and from there go into f5. However, if this is done, g6 will follow. And the nice thing about h4 is that now white wants to go first h5 and then go knight h4 and then into f5, where g6 will not be possible. So h4 is an absolutely fantastic move by white. And here queen c6 was played by black. And now h5. White continues according to plan. c4 was played to open up the dark squared bishop on b6, and now d4. Okay, so after d4, e takes d4, knight takes d4, and here the pawn on d6 is a little bit weak. I would say that white is getting somewhere. Queen c5, and now queen g4. The queen on g4, of course, is eyeing against the king on g8, and the g7 pawn, for example, knight f5 is one idea, threatening not only a checkmate on g7, but also h6 as well. So queen e5 to defend, knight f3, hitting the queen. What white wants to do is hit the queen. The queen moves, and now they don't allow black to trade the bishop on b6 for the knight on e3. If that happened, it would ease black's task. So knight f5 followed, knight takes f5, and now e takes f5 to keep the tension, queen f6, and now queen e4, hitting the rook on a8. And b8, rook b8 was played, and now rook e2, a good move because it controls it protects the b2 pawn, even for the future. Bishop c5. I like this kind of moves because the bishop on c5 defends the pawn on d6, freeing up the queen on f6, and also the pawn on d6 protects the bishop on c5. So the two protect each other. The bishop is anchored, and now g4. g4 is an excellent move. The reason is that what black wants to do here to free their position is they want to go b4. And if black goes b4, then the pawn on c4 is lose, it's going to be lost. However, if white plays queen takes c4, then black can play queen takes f5. So g4 stops that, and also g4 allows white to go king g2 also. And the nice thing here is that the pawn on g4 defends both the pawns on f5 and h5, and also makes a space for the king to come up to g2 to protect the knight. And the squares that are dark, like h4, g5, are both defended by the knight on f3. So white is better. I won't say winning by any means. White is not winning. However, white has a slightly better position here. Queen d8 was played, and now queen d5. Okay, king f8, king f1, rook c8, rook e4. So maneuvering going on. Rook b8, g5. Okay, h takes g5 and rook g4. Okay, rook a8, knight takes g5, rook a1, king e2, queen e7, knight e4, okay, queen e8, king f3, queen a8, an exchange of queens, and now f6. And the key point of this move is, of course, that white wants to make a passed h-pawn. So g6 followed, h takes g6, f takes g6, rook takes g6, so white has won a pawn, and they are very close to win the game. Rook a2 followed, king g4, rook takes b2, and rook h6, and of course black resigned because they are completely lost. There is nothing to play for because all that white needs is to go king f5 and then either king e6 or king g6, then go f7, check, the king moves, rook h8, for example, and promotes the pawn. Of course, if at any moment d5 to attack the knight will take the bishop on c5. This is obvious. It's just a hopeless position here because the knight, the pawn, the rook, and the king, they have all worked extremely harmoniously as a team. The king wants to come up to f5, and from f5, depending also on how black plays, it will either go to g6 or e6, and nothing can save the black king from checkmate or from allowing the pawn to promote. So this is a completely winning position for white, even though material is equal, and black resigned. Now, food for thought, some people say that the rook works better with the knight in the endgame than with the bishop. That's a very big topic, a very big discussion. I won't get into it now, but this position here proves this. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something new. There is a new game tomorrow. It's also our Easter tomorrow, the Orthodox Easter. So I will be away, but I will definitely be watching the action. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see how Ding will react. He managed to equalize in game 4. Will he manage to equalize again? Well, he will have the white pieces. Probably I'm expecting something like one c4 or one d4, which are his main weapons. Maybe even one knight f3, we will see, but I don't really expect Ding to go one e4 because that's not his area of expertise. And, you know, in this kind of games, you want to put your money where is your area of expertise. So I wouldn't expect e4. That's my prediction personally for the opening. And I'm sure it's going to be an extremely interesting and hard-fought game. Ding will give his best in order to equalize the match, but you never know. If he overextends, Nepomniachtchi could even end up winning and take a decisive advantage, or it could also end in a draw. We will see what we will see. I hope that you all enjoy the game tomorrow. And thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate you for staying until the end. If you're a subscriber, I will catch you at the next video. And if you like the video, then please consider to subscribe and like the video. Also, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.